Have you ever felt like the odd one out in your own family? Like no matter what you do, you're either the one who gets all the attention or none at all? Maybe you're always the one expected to do everything right, to succeed, to make everyone proud. Or maybe there's someone else in your family who acts like the world revolves around them, and somehow it kinda does. But have you ever wondered why there's only one person like that in each family? This isn't just a coincidence. It's deeper than you think. Today we're talking about something most people never speak about out loud, why there's usually only one chosen one or one narcissist in every family. It's not magic, but it sure feels mysterious. Families are like puzzles, and every person plays a part. But sometimes one child is given all the praise, or all the blame. One becomes the favorite, the perfect one, or the dramatic one who always needs the spotlight. But what if I told you the role you were given in your family wasn't random? And what if being the chosen one isn't a blessing, but a heavy burden? Stick with me till the end, because by the time we're done, you'll see your story in a whole new light. And hey, if this hits home or makes you feel seen, you're not alone. Show some love by joining our growing community of truth seekers, cycle breakers, and deep feelers. We're in this together. Ready to dive in? Let's go. Sometimes, even in a house full of people, you can feel completely alone. You may sit at the dinner table with your family, smiling and laughing, but deep down you feel like you don't belong. Maybe you always felt like the one who had to grow up faster, act wiser, or stay quiet when things got tough. You might have been the one who noticed everything, the way your parents spoke to your siblings differently, or how certain things were never talked about. You weren't imagining it. There's an invisible truth no one talks about, and it lives in many families. Families often create silent rules. These rules aren't written down, but you're expected to follow them, like, don't cry too much, don't ask too many questions, be strong even when you're hurting. In many homes, one child is picked, without a word spoken, to carry all the pressure. This child becomes the fixer, the good one, or the strong one. And while others may think that child is lucky or special, they don't see the weight that's being carried behind the smile. Here's the hook. Feeling different in your family is not your fault. You didn't choose that role, you were shaped into it by your environment. Maybe your parents had their own pain and didn't know how to express love. Maybe you were more sensitive, more observant, or just wanted peace in a home full of stress. So, you became quiet, you became helpful, you tried your best to be perfect, thinking maybe then things would feel better. But the truth is, the child who feels different often is different, not in a bad way, but in a deep, powerful way. That child usually carries wisdom, empathy, and strength that others in the family don't see. You weren't weak for feeling more. You were brave for holding it all together when no one else noticed. This kind of quiet pain follows many into adulthood, but understanding it is the first step in healing it. You are not broken. You were simply given a role you never asked for. And now you have the chance to break free from it and become your true self, the one you were always meant to be. In every family, there's something hidden beneath the surface. It's not spoken, not written down, but it's there. A quiet system that decides who plays what role. It's like an invisible map, and everyone is assigned a place. One child becomes the strong one, another the troublemaker, one the quiet observer. And then there's the one who carries the crown, or the curse. At first, it might look like the child wearing the crown is the lucky one, the golden child, the one everyone praises, the one who gets all the attention, all the hopes, all the dreams placed on their shoulders. But what people don't see is that the crown is heavy. It doesn't always mean love. It can mean pressure. It can mean being expected to be perfect, to never mess up, to always hold the family together. And when that child struggles, there's no room for weakness. They suffer in silence, afraid to disappoint the people they love most. Then there's the curse. Sometimes another child is blamed for everything, the black sheep, the scapegoat, the one who gets punished more, misunderstood more, left out more. They may act out, speak up, or distance themselves, and the family points fingers, never asking why. But often, that child is simply reacting to an unfair system no one talks about. Here's the haunting truth. In many families, one child is chosen, not because they are better or worse, but because the family needs someone to carry its story. And that story can be one of glory or pain. The system is built not by bad people, but by unhealed pain passed down for generations. So, is the chosen one truly favored? Or are they silently suffering under the weight of invisible expectations? Sometimes the one who shines the brightest is also the one burning inside. In most families, no one stands up and says, "You will be the chosen one," or "You will be the difficult one." These roles are not handed out like job titles. Instead, they slowly form like shadows growing longer as the sun sets. Roles are not assigned, they're absorbed. Children don't choose them, they become them in response to the emotional needs of the people around them. Let's say a parent is struggling. Maybe they feel unhappy, unfulfilled, or unloved. They may not say it out loud, but children feel it. Kids are like emotional sponges. They notice what gets praised, what gets ignored, and what causes stress. Over time, one child might start trying to fix things. They act perfect, achieve more, smile through pain. This child slowly becomes the chosen one, not because they are loved more, but because the family needed someone to make everything look okay. On the other side, another child might feel left out or unseen. They act out to be noticed. Maybe they become louder, more demanding, even selfish. This is how a child might grow into the role of the narcissist, not because they're born that way, but because they learn that attention is the only way to feel valued. All of this happens without words. No one says it, but everyone feels it. One child absorbs the pressure to be perfect. Another absorbs the chaos. Another might disappear into the background to keep the peace. These roles are shaped by survival, not choice. And once the roles are absorbed, they can stick for years, even into adulthood. The golden child may grow up always trying to prove their worth. The black sheep may carry guilt they never deserved. Understanding this truth is powerful. It shows us that these roles are not who we truly are. They are masks we put on to survive. And masks, once understood, can finally be removed. In many families, children don't just grow up. They grow into the emotional world around them. They reflect what's unspoken, what's hidden, and what was never healed. One child, without realizing it, becomes the mirror for the parent's unlived dreams or unresolved trauma. This child becomes more than just themselves. They become the parent's second chance. The chosen one is often not chosen because they are loved more, but because they seem to hold the key to something the parent never had. Maybe the parent always wanted to be successful, smart, or respected, but life didn't give them that chance. So now their child becomes the new hope. This child is pushed to be perfect, praised for achievements, and burdened with high expectations. "Make me proud" is not just a compliment. It's a silent command. This child doesn't just represent love, they represent the parent's ideal self. And that's a heavy crown to wear. Every mistake feels like failure. Every moment of sadness is hidden because being strong becomes part of the identity. The child learns that being enough means being more than human. Now look at the narcissist in the family. This child may not be praised for who they are, but they fight for attention in another way, by becoming important, loud, or always right. Underneath, they often carry deep shame, fear, and unmet needs. Their behavior reflects the parent's wounded ego, the parts the parent denies or rejects in themselves. So instead of helping the child heal, the parent may judge or dismiss them, creating a cycle of rejection and control. Both children are mirrors. One shows the light the parent never reached. The other shows the shadow the parent never faced. And in both cases, the child absorbs something that was never theirs to carry. But mirrors can crack. And sometimes when they do, the truth finally shines through. You were never meant to be anyone else's reflection. You were meant to be you, whole, free, and real. Two siblings can grow up under the same roof, eat the same meals, go to the same school, and even share the same room, but still grow into completely different people. Why? Because siblings are rarely raised in the same emotional home, even if they live in the same physical house. What shapes them isn't just the rules or routines, it's the emotional attention they receive, and that is almost always different. Parents, even with the best intentions, don't treat all their children the same, not because they're bad, but because they are human, and parenting is deeply influenced by their own wounds, stress, values, and beliefs. A firstborn may carry the weight of high expectations. A second child might be compared constantly. A third might be given freedom no one else had. Each child absorbs a different emotional experience, even from the same parent. For example, one child might be sensitive and quiet. They're seen as easy, so they're often left alone, not because they're unloved, but because they're not demanding. Another sibling may have strong opinions and speak up more. They might get more attention, but also more discipline. One becomes known as the peacekeeper, the other as the rebel. These roles start forming early, and over time, they shape how each child sees themselves and the world. Imagine one child being constantly praised for doing well in school. They start to believe their worth comes from achievement. Another child might be more artistic or emotional, but never receives the same attention. They may grow up feeling unseen or misunderstood, even if they were deeply loved. Over time, their personalities grow in opposite directions, not because of who they are, but because of how they were treated. Birth order, gender, health, temperament, and even timing, like what stress the parents were under during each child's early years, all affect the way love is given. One child might be raised by a younger, more hopeful parent. Another might be raised years later by a tired and stressed version of that same parent. The home is the same, but the emotional landscape is not. This difference creates silent gaps between siblings. One may wonder, why did I have to grow up so fast? While another thinks, why was I never trusted? They may argue, not realizing, that each of them lived in a completely different emotional reality. Understanding this brings compassion. It helps us stop comparing wounds and start seeing the unseen truth. Each child adapts to survive their version of the family system. They each carry different burdens, stories, and scars, even if their last names match. So the next time someone says, "You had the same parents, how are you so different?" Remember, it's not the house that raises a child, it's the emotional home inside it. In many families, especially ones carrying deep emotional wounds, a strange pattern quietly unfolds. The family unconsciously breeds a narcissist, not out of cruelty or intent, but as a way to protect its image or distract from hidden pain. This child becomes the emotional lightning rod, the hero, the one who draws all the attention, for better or worse. In dysfunctional systems, there's often pain that no one knows how to speak about. Maybe there's generational trauma, emotional neglect, addiction, or quiet shame, but instead of healing the root, the family unintentionally builds walls around the wound, and inside those walls, one child is chosen, whether they realize it or not, to carry the spotlight. At first, this child may be seen as special. They're praised, celebrated, put on a pedestal. They learn quickly that love comes when they shine, when they win, when they please. But this love isn't unconditional. It's tied to performance, to attention, to control. The child slowly starts building a false self to keep that love coming. They become charming, dominant, high-achieving, or even demanding, whatever keeps the focus on them and away from the family's deeper issues. This child isn't just growing into a personality, they're becoming a symbol. They're the proof that the family is okay. Look how talented she is. He's so successful, we must have done something right. But behind the scenes, this child is often emotionally abandoned. Their real feelings, shame, fear, vulnerability, are never safe to express. There's no room for being human. So they overcompensate, becoming grandiose, manipulative, or emotionally detached. What's heartbreaking is this. The narcissistic traits are not born from strength, but from survival. The child becomes what the family needs, not who they are. They reflect the family's hunger for pride and perfection, or they become the distraction from pain no one wants to face. And while they may seem powerful on the outside, inside they often feel empty, unworthy, and alone. This is the cost of becoming the lightning rod, of being raised not to feel, but to protect the family system. It's not about blame, it's about understanding the emotional roles that get passed down when healing never happens. And when we see this clearly, we realize, behind the narcissist's mask is just another child who once tried to earn love the only way they knew how. In a toxic or emotionally unstable family, attention isn't just affection, it's survival. It's the one thing everyone silently competes for, even if they don't realize it. And in this hidden game, someone always becomes the center of attention, because someone has to. The spotlight becomes a throne, and the child who figures out how to hold it? That child often becomes the narcissist. But this isn't about ego, it's about need. In these families, attention is uneven. It may be unpredictable, coming in bursts of praise or explosions of criticism. Some days, silence is safety. Other days, noise is the only way to be seen. Children quickly learn that being noticed, good or bad, is better than being invisible. It becomes a currency. And some children, out of desperation or intuition, learn how to master it. They become loud, talented, opinionated, beautiful, outspoken, or dramatic. They perform roles that gain approval or control. Maybe they entertain, maybe they dominate, maybe they rescue others or tear them down. Whatever it takes to keep the emotional spotlight fixed on them, because attention means power, and power means safety. This child may be called too much or full of themselves, but deep down they're operating on instinct. They've learned that being the center of the family's emotional universe protects them from the chaos around them or inside them. The more attention they command, the less they have to feel their own shame, fear, or worthlessness. They learn to perform rather than feel. Meanwhile, their siblings might disappear into the background, carrying quiet resentment, confusion, or hurt. But even they sometimes accept the dynamic because someone has to take that role. The narcissist becomes the distraction, the emotional focal point, sometimes admired, sometimes hated, but always noticed. In truth, this isn't a healthy child thriving, it's a wounded child surviving. And behind their shining mask is someone who once learned, too young, that attention was the only kind of love that came with a guarantee. On the outside, the chosen one shines brightly, praised for every achievement, celebrated for every success. They seem to have it all, the perfect grades, the endless compliments, the admiration of family and friends. People often look at them and think they have the easiest life. But beneath this glamorous facade lies a heavy, hidden truth. The chosen one suffers in silence inside. This child carries a weight that no one talks about, the constant pressure to be perfect, to meet expectations that often feel impossible. Every accomplishment is another chance to prove their worth, but also another moment when failure feels devastating. The applause feels less like love and more like a demand. Keep going, don't stop, don't let us down. Behind the smiles is fear. Fear of disappointing those who believe in them, fear of revealing their true feelings, and fear of not being enough without achievements. The chosen one learns to hide doubts and struggles because showing weakness feels like betrayal. If they falter even just a little, the praise might stop, and with it, the love they've been chasing. This silent suffering is invisible to many because the chosen one has mastered the art of hiding pain. They become experts at wearing a mask, one that shows confidence and success, but hides anxiety, loneliness, and exhaustion. Inside, they may feel isolated, trapped by the roles others expect them to play. What's even harder is that this pressure doesn't just come from outside, it's often internalized. The chosen one starts to believe that their value depends solely on their achievements. Rest, failure, or simply being themselves feels like a luxury they cannot afford. Understanding this hidden struggle reminds us that the brightest stars sometimes burn the hottest. Behind every perfect child is a human being carrying fears and pain, longing to be accepted for who they truly are, not just what they do. It's a quiet battle, one that deserves compassion and care, not just applause. In many families, the child known as the chosen one often takes on roles far heavier than their age should allow. They become the emotional parent, the peacemaker, the overachiever, wearing many masks to keep the family's fragile balance. But behind this seeming perfection lies a quiet tragedy. In trying to hold everything together, they slowly lose themselves. This child grows up feeling responsible, not just for their own feelings, but for the emotions of everyone around them. When parents argue or siblings fight, the chosen one steps in to calm the storm. They listen more than they speak, hide their own pain to soothe others, and take on adult worries while still being a child. This emotional labor is invisible but exhausting. It's like carrying a heavy load no one sees. At school, the pressure pushes them to overachieve. Good grades, awards, praise. They become their way to prove they are worthy, lovable, and strong. Success becomes the language of love and acceptance. But this constant striving leaves little space for mistakes, rest, or simply being a kid. The chosen one learns to bury their true feelings deep inside, afraid that showing weakness might shatter the fragile peace they maintain. Over time, the child's true self, their hopes, fears, and dreams, gets buried under layers of responsibility and perfection. They lose sight of who they are outside their roles. It's a slow fading, like a candle burning at both ends. The more they give, the less they have left for themselves. This tragedy isn't just about stress or exhaustion, it's about identity. When you grow up being everyone's emotional support, but never allowed to be supported, you start to doubt your own value. You wonder if you are loved for who you are, or only for what you do. The perfection the world sees is not freedom, it's a cage. And inside that cage is a child, longing to be free to feel, to fail, and to simply be. The real heartbreak is that the very roles that made them strong also made them lose touch with their true self. Understanding this helps us see beyond the surface. It reminds us that behind every overachiever or peacemaker is a human being craving kindness, acceptance, and the chance to just be themselves, imperfect and real. Every family carries a hidden history, a family soul made up of stories, struggles, and emotions passed down through generations. Like an invisible thread, this history weaves through each member, shaping who they become. Often, the family soul selects one person to carry the generational pain, or to break it. This isn't by chance, but part of a deep, unseen pattern known as ancestral inheritance. Generational pain comes from wounds that weren't healed long ago. It could be trauma, loss, fear, or unhealthy habits that echo silently through the family line. These emotions don't just disappear, they hide in the family's energy, waiting to be felt and understood. Sometimes, one child unknowingly becomes the carrier of this pain. They may carry heavy burdens like anxiety, perfectionism, or deep sadness that no one else can explain. This person might feel different, weighed down by emotions that don't seem to belong just to them. They might struggle with challenges their siblings don't face or feel a responsibility to fix problems no one talks about. This is the family soul's way of keeping the story alive, hoping for healing. But there's another side to this story. The chosen one isn't only meant to carry pain, they might also be the key to breaking the cycle. By becoming aware of these patterns, understanding the inherited wounds, and choosing a different path, they can bring healing not only to themselves, but to the entire family line. They can transform the legacy from pain into strength. This idea of ancestral patterns teaches us that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. It reminds us that healing isn't just personal. It's a gift we give to those who came before us and those who will come after. Recognizing this connection helps us see why some struggles feel so deep and why some people seem destined for greater challenges and greater healing. You are not just the chosen one, the one who carries the family's hopes, expectations, or even its hidden pain. You are something much more powerful, the cycle breaker. This means that the struggles you face, the weight you feel, And the battles you fight are not just random hardships, they have a sacred purpose. The pain you carry is heavy, yes, but it's also a sign of your strength. It connects you to your ancestors, to the generations before you who may have been trapped in patterns of fear, silence, or suffering. And now, through you, there is a chance for change. You have the power to stop these cycles from repeating, to heal wounds that have been hidden for years, and to create a new story for your family. Being the cycle breaker means courage. It means facing the shadows instead of running from them. It means choosing love and understanding over fear and blame. It means learning to honor your own needs and feelings even when others don't understand. This path is not easy, but it is sacred and deeply important. When you step into this role, you become a light in the darkness, not just for yourself, but for your whole family line. Your healing ripples out, touching those who came before and those who will come after. You carry the possibility of freedom and peace. So, even when the weight feels unbearable, remember this: your pain has a purpose. You are more than the roles assigned to you. You are the one who can break the cycle and build a legacy of healing, love, and hope. That is your true power. Do you often find yourself feeling overly responsible for things that don't seem like your job? Like you're carrying the weight of others' feelings, problems, or even mistakes on your shoulders? Maybe you feel like you had to grow up too fast, like childhood passed you by while you were busy taking care of everyone else. If any of this sounds familiar, you're not alone, and there's a reason behind it. Sometimes in families, one child naturally steps into the role of the caretaker. You might have noticed this in yourself. You listen to others' problems, try to fix fights, or hide your own feelings so you don't add to the stress. You may feel like you have to keep everyone calm or happy, even if it means ignoring what you really need. This kind of responsibility can feel like a heavy burden, especially when you're still young and should be focused on just being a kid. Have you ever stopped to wonder why you feel this way? Why it seems like you had to grow up faster than your siblings or friends? It's because sometimes families unconsciously put this role on one person. You might have become the emotional adult in the house, not because you wanted to, but because the family needed it. Maybe your parents were dealing with their own struggles, or there was tension and conflict that no one else knew how to handle. You stepped in to fill that gap. Feeling overly responsible can also make you doubt yourself. You might worry that if you don't handle everything perfectly, things will fall apart. You could feel like your worth depends on how much you do for others. This pressure can be exhausting and lonely. Sometimes you might even hide behind a mask of strength so no one sees the real you, because being vulnerable feels too risky. Do you catch yourself saying things like, "I can't relax until everyone else is okay," or "It's up to me to keep the peace"? Do you put your own feelings last, even when you're tired or upset? These are signs that you've taken on too much responsibility, and it's time to recognize that it's not your job to carry everything alone. It's important to remember that growing up too fast and feeling overly responsible are not your fault. They are the result of family dynamics that needed a caretaker, and you became that person. But it's okay to start shifting that weight now. You deserve to have space to be yourself, to feel your feelings, and to let others take care of themselves too. Recognizing these feelings is the first step toward healing. It helps you understand that you don't have to carry the whole family's emotional world by yourself. You can learn to set boundaries, ask for support, and reconnect with the child inside who deserves love and care just for being who they are, not for what they do. If you've ever felt like you had to grow up too fast or take on too much responsibility, know this: you are not alone, and you are more than the role you were given. It's okay to take off the heavy crown and simply be you. Sometimes the way we try to earn love in our families takes very different shapes, but both can come from the same deep need to be seen and accepted. You might have learned that being perfect was the way to get love. This is often the path of the chosen one. You worked hard, got good grades, excelled in sports or arts, and tried to meet every expectation perfectly. You believed that if you could just be flawless, you would finally earn the approval and affection you longed for. The silence of your struggles was the price you paid for that love. On the other hand, some learn a different way, by being the loudest in the room, the one who demands attention no matter what. This is often the pattern of the narcissist. Instead of quiet perfection, they might create drama, exaggerate their stories, or even blame others to make sure all eyes are on them. The loudness becomes their shield and their way of feeling important. Behind this boldness, though, is often deep insecurity, a need to prove they matter because deep down they fear being ignored or forgotten. Both patterns, perfect and loud, are ways to cope with a family environment where love felt conditional. The chosen one thinks, if I'm perfect, I'll be loved. The narcissist thinks, if I'm loud, I'll be noticed. Neither feels truly free. Both are searching for acceptance, but in very different ways. These patterns shape how they see themselves and relate to others. The chosen one hides pain behind achievement, while the narcissist hides pain behind attention. But underneath, both carry a similar longing, to be loved simply for who they are, not for what they do or how loud they can be. Understanding this helps us see beyond the surface. It shows us that perfection and loudness can both be masks, worn to protect fragile hearts that just want to belong. In many families, when one child carries the heavy weight of the family's expectations, the other siblings often get left behind in complicated ways. This creates an imbalance that affects not just childhood, but how each sibling grows and forms relationships later in life. It's like the family puts all its hopes, fears, and pressures on one child, the chosen one, while the others struggle to find their place, often feeling lost or even blamed unfairly. When one child is seen as the star or the responsible one, they become the focus of attention. They get praised for achievements, expected to fix problems, and treated like the family's emotional anchor. Meanwhile, the other children might feel invisible or forgotten. They might not get the same encouragement or support, which can leave them confused about their own value. If the chosen one is carrying the weight of perfection and responsibility, the other siblings can feel pushed into the shadows or sometimes even cast as the scapegoat. Being the scapegoat means one child might be unfairly blamed for family problems or seen as the troublemaker. This role often arises because the family needs someone to focus their frustration or disappointment on, especially when so much attention is on the chosen one. The scapegoated child might feel misunderstood, rejected, or constantly judged. This can hurt their self-esteem and make them feel like they don't belong. This kind of family dynamic creates deep emotional wounds for all siblings. The chosen one carries pressure and often hides their own struggles, while the scapegoat struggles with rejection and blame. The siblings who feel lost may grow up unsure of who they really are because their needs and feelings were overlooked. This imbalance can leave lasting scars that affect how siblings relate to each other as adults, sometimes causing rivalry, resentment, or distance. These family roles don't just stay in childhood, they ripple out into future relationships. The chosen one might struggle with saying no or setting boundaries because they are used to always being responsible for others. They might feel anxious about failure or fear disappointing those they love. The scapegoat, carrying a sense of rejection, might have trouble trusting others or accepting love, expecting criticism or blame instead. Those siblings who felt lost may find it hard to express their needs or believe in their worth. Understanding this pattern is important because it shows that family roles aren't just about childhood. They shape how we see ourselves and connect with others for years to come. Recognizing these roles can be the first step toward healing. It allows siblings to break free from old labels and build healthier relationships, both with themselves and with those around them. In the end, no child should have to carry the family's burdens alone, and no child should be left feeling lost or blamed. When families become aware of these patterns, they can begin to share love and attention more equally, helping every child find their true place and worth. In many families, love can unintentionally become conditional, meaning a child learns that they must earn love and acceptance by meeting certain expectations. This is especially true for the chosen one, the child who is expected to excel, behave perfectly, or take on the family's hopes and dreams. Over time, this child starts to confuse their performance, how well they do, how much they achieve, how they act, with their worth as a person. This confusion can take a heavy emotional toll that often follows them well into adulthood. When love feels conditional, it sends a powerful message to a child's heart and mind: I am only lovable if I'm perfect. This means that their true self, with flaws, mistakes, and vulnerabilities, feels unacceptable or unworthy. So from a young age, they learn to hide their real feelings and weaknesses, replacing them with achievements, smiles, and good behavior. While this may bring praise and approval at first, it builds a fragile sense of self that depends on constant validation from others. As the child grows into an adult, the pressure to perform never really goes away. It becomes a lifelong pattern where they try to please others to maintain their sense of value. This is called people-pleasing, and it can lead to saying yes when they want to say no, taking on too many responsibilities, and ignoring their own needs. The fear behind this is clear. If they don't keep performing well, they might lose love or approval again. People-pleasing drains energy and creates stress because it requires constant vigilance. The adult may feel exhausted by trying to meet everyone else's expectations and afraid to disappoint anyone, even at their own expense. This fear of failure can also cause imposter syndrome, a feeling that they are a fraud who doesn't deserve their achievements. Despite outward success, they may secretly believe they aren't good enough and worry that others will find out the truth. This creates a painful gap between how they appear and how they feel inside. The emotional toll doesn't stop there. Because their worth has been tied to performance, they often struggle with self-acceptance and self-love. They might find it hard to relax, enjoy life, or be authentic. Mistakes become unbearable, and criticism feels like a threat to their very existence. They can become overly self-critical, anxious, or depressed, trying to fix or control everything to avoid rejection. Relationships also suffer. Since their love was once conditional, they may expect others to love them only if they meet certain conditions. This makes it hard to form genuine, trusting connections. They might put others' needs ahead of their own, or withdraw emotionally to protect themselves. Sometimes they become attracted to partners who are similarly conditional, repeating old, painful patterns. But this story doesn't have to be forever. Recognizing that conditional love was part of their childhood is the first step to healing. The adult can learn to separate their worth from their performance, realizing that they are valuable simply because they exist, not because of what they do. This awareness opens the door to self-compassion and authenticity. Healing means learning to accept imperfections and to show vulnerability without fear of losing love. It means setting healthy boundaries, saying no when needed, and prioritizing self-care. It also means forgiving the parents or caregivers who unintentionally made love feel conditional. They did the best they could, often unaware of the lasting impact. As adults break free from this cycle, they begin to rewrite their story. They discover joy in being themselves, not just in doing or achieving. They build relationships based on genuine acceptance and mutual respect. Over time, the heavy burden of performance lifts, replaced by a deeper, more peaceful sense of self-worth. In the end, understanding how conditional love shapes us helps us grow beyond it. We realize that true love, both from others and ourselves, is unconditional. It is not something to earn or prove, but a birthright we all deserve. And when we finally believe that, we start living free. In every family, there often seems to be one child who carries the weight of the family's hopes, dreams, and expectations, the chosen one. This role isn't about favoritism or luck. It's a deep, sometimes invisible responsibility that the family places on a single person. But why is there only one chosen one? The answer lies in the power of transformation. It only takes one person to rewrite the family legacy, to break cycles of pain, and to lead the way toward healing and growth. The idea of a chosen one can feel overwhelming. This child is often expected to be perfect, to fix family problems, or to carry the unspoken burdens that previous generations couldn't resolve. They become the family's symbol of hope, the person who must succeed where others struggled. This role can feel like a crown, heavy, sparkling, but difficult to bear. The family's eyes are on them, waiting for them to prove that things can be different, better, and brighter. But beneath this pressure is a profound truth. It only takes one person willing to change the pattern for real transformation to begin. When the chosen one begins to see beyond the weight of expectations, they discover they have a sacred role, not just to carry the legacy, but to rewrite it. This means breaking free from old ways of thinking, old family dramas, and unhealthy patterns passed down through generations. It means choosing healing over hurt, love over fear, and hope over despair. The journey is not easy. The chosen one often faces loneliness because they carry burdens others don't see or understand. They may struggle with self-doubt, fearing they're not enough, or worried about disappointing their family. Sometimes the role can trap them in cycles of perfectionism, self-sacrifice, or even silence about their own needs. But this journey also opens the door to deep inner strength. It calls for courage, the courage to look honestly at the family's pain, the courage to ask for help, and the courage to step into a new story. What makes the chosen one's role so powerful is that transformation ripples outward. When one person changes their story, it affects siblings, parents, and even future generations. Healing breaks chains of trauma and pain that once seemed unbreakable. Old wounds begin to close, and new patterns of love and acceptance can grow. The chosen one becomes a beacon, a living example that change is possible, even in the most difficult families. This transformation is a process of reclaiming identity and power. It's about realizing that worth is not tied to performance or meeting others' expectations. It's about embracing imperfections and learning that vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. The chosen one learns to set boundaries, speak their truth, and nurture their own healing. In doing so, they inspire others to do the same. Change doesn't happen overnight, but every small step matters. Choosing forgiveness over resentment, kindness over judgment, and hope over despair creates a foundation for lasting growth. Sometimes the chosen one needs support from friends, mentors, or professionals to navigate this path. But no matter where they are on their journey, the power to transform their family legacy is within reach. This message is not just for the chosen one, but for everyone who feels trapped by their family's past. The truth is that the power to heal and grow is not limited to one person. It starts with one person, and that can be you. Whether you've been labeled the perfect child, the troublemaker, or somewhere in between, you have the ability to break the cycle and create a new legacy of love and acceptance. The family story doesn't have to be written in pain or limitation. It can be rewritten with courage, compassion, and hope.